First of all, of course, a lot of people know about Neuralink, but very few people actually know about you. So kind of interesting because like normally I'd ask people, even outside of the X sphere, do you know who Noland Arbaugh is? And very few people actually know. So could you like introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm Nolan. I was the first person to get the Neuralink implant. That was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, coming on 27 months actually this month. I am a C4, C5 quadriplegic, so I have no movement or sensation below my shoulders. Happened in sort of a freak accident when I was 22 years old, a couple months out of college. Just finished up my senior year, and 2 months later, I had just sort of like I said, a freak accident. Was running into some water with some of my friends, and I got hit in the side of the head by one of them. Don't really know who or what, how it happened really, but got hit in the side of the head immediately, like instantaneously dislocated and relocated my spinal cord. I woke up face down in the water and couldn't move. Immediately knew I was paralyzed and stuff. So just held my breath as long as possible. And I like to say I took a big drink, sort of like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. And yeah, that was almost 10 years ago. So 10 years ago this year, actually. And for about 8 years, I was doing a whole lot of nothing, lying around trying to find some way to be productive, some way to better my life. But it wasn't easy. There's just not a whole lot that I was able to do. I tried to find work doing different things, but even with like work placement for people with disabilities, they said I didn't really qualify because I didn't meet certain like standards. One of the things that was required was typing and like a typing speed. So like I needed to be able to type, say like 20 words per minute or something, and I didn't qualify for it. Like I couldn't do it, so I wasn't able to like find any work. I tried like going through friends and family, and just nothing really worked out for me. So I was just lying around trying to do whatever I could to better my life. And yeah, that really just led me down a path of, watching a lot of YouTube videos, reading a lot of books, like trying to learn, trying to better myself, and trying to be somewhat productive. And then just sort of randomly Neuralink fell in my lap. A buddy called me up one day and was like, "You want to get a chip in your brain?" I was like, "Yeah, I got nothing better going on. Like, might as well." So gave me a 5 minute rundown of Neuralink was, because I had no idea what it was. I knew of Elon Musk, but not much more than that. And applied on the phone. So like filled out the application for me online while we were on the phone together. Never thought I would hear back from them ever. I had applied for, a massive database studies for like spinal cord injuries, for quadriplegic stuff like that, and that was like a few years before. And I didn't hear back from a single study. Like no one wanted me. So I was like, "There's no way that this study, the most high profile study probably in the world, that they would reach out to me or they would accept me." But a month later, I was, already done maybe like a dozen interviews. I'd done full body testing, scans, all sorts of things, the whole nine. And 3 months after that, so about 4 months after I applied, I was getting brain surgery. So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, we had a conversation about this actually earlier because we had a call before we even did this space, and it was really nice. It was interesting to see kind of like, where you were at, and you told me the story as well, where it's like kind of by chance, even on the selection of the interview, you selected like just because the first slots
Yeah.
that you'd like get in immediately. I thought it was really interesting. You like took major steps to get there and really like put yourself out there, which is really fun, and then it like randomly happens almost perfectly. Also, the kind of part of this, as you can see that there's like a path outlined by the universe, as it were. You have like this interesting connection to God in a sense. Would you be like, happy expanding on that a little bit? Because I think like we always talk about the technologies much, but what we hardly ever speak about is the people behind the technology, like the philosophy of those people, and like what makes a person the best choice to represent the technology, especially this in this stage. So, what is like your connection to God in this sense and your philosophy on that, if you would like to expand on that.
Yeah, it is crazy how everything has worked out. I mean, looking back on it, 2020 hindsight, looking back at just how God works. Even like you mentioned about selecting sort of the first interview slot for every little form that they sent me. My whole thinking behind it is just, I don't find myself to be a super memorable person. I don't think I'm that interesting. I don't think I have that much like going for me. I definitely didn't at that point. I was like, well, I'd always heard like going to like interviews whenever you wanted something, whenever you want to do anything, to show up and try to be the first one there, because if nothing else, that's what they'll remember you for. And so in my mind, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna select the first interview slot every chance that I get, which happened to be a few times, maybe three, 4 or 5 times or something that I was doing interviews. And like looking back, it's funny in a way because I ended up becoming the first person to get it, and so it all kind of like you see the dots connected there, and that's just where my mind was, and it's fun to look back. But I've felt strongly since the beginning of this and for years before that how God has worked in my life has been pretty incredible. I grew up a Christian. My mom was like the preschool ministry leader at my church when I was growing up, so she was there, every Sunday, taking care of all the kids, like working with 5 different classrooms of kids, kind of managing it all. So I was voluntold to work with babies, kids basically at church since I was real young. Was in church maybe 4 or 5 times a week, just always there, like student leadership at my church and going to youth camps and everything. So I grew up with a pretty strong foundation in my faith. That all faded away as soon as I went to college. I decided that I wanted to go and experience life and that I would come back to God at some point. I thought, like I'm young. All of these people that I've grown up with have their own life experiences, and they look at youth kids and they're like, don't do the same things I did, like don't make the same mistakes I did. And I always thought, well, like it worked out for you. Like look how great of a Christian person you are and you went through all of this stuff. So maybe it's just part of the journey. Like we need to go experience these things. And so I wanted to do the same thing. And I thought I would just spend my early years, my 20s, kind of living the way that I wanted to. And at some point, I'd want to get married, settle down, have kids, and that's when I would come back to God and raise my children in the church and stuff. So it was a pretty shallow faith at that point in my life, but God had different plans in store for me. Accident happened, of course, and even that day, you can see, like I can see God's fingerprints all over it. I'll just go through a few things because I think the story is just incredible. The day I had my accident was at a man-made beach in New York. I was working at a summer camp, and at the summer camp, we have a huge like waterfront. We have this whole department of like water skiing, wakeboarding. We have a few different lakes, the camp, and there's like pools and all sorts of stuff. So there are a dozen or two lifeguards that work at the camp. And that day that I had my accident, I was at that beach with a lot of my closest friends who happened to be lifeguards, and they had just done what they call backboard training like a day before. So, what to do with someone who has a spinal cord injury in the water, or a traumatic brain injury in the water, or something like that, is unconscious in the water. So, they had just done that a day before. I had my spinal cord injury in the water, and the people that pulled me out of the water, 2 of my best friends, they were lifeguards. They hadn't been there. Who knows what would have happened, because the lifeguard on duty at that beach did absolutely nothing. When I had my injury, he just sort of sat up on his little lifeguard stand and stared and was in shock, sort of frozen. So they pulled me out of the water. At the beach that day, there was just an off duty nurse not too far away from us. She's the one who resuscitated me, CPR, the whole nine. So there was that. There was also an ambulance who was flagged down. Not only flagged down, like one of my friends at the camp ran to the road because there was an ambulance just driving by back to the hospital after getting called off, a call. So they weren't transporting anyone. They had a like open free ambulance that just happened to be driving by. And so one of my friends went and flagged the ambulance down. They were able to get to me within minutes. And then there was also a like life flight helicopter that was on its way to the hospital, also not carrying anyone. And so when they called it in, the helicopter got there again in like minutes. The surgeon that did my spinal cord surgery, one of the best spinal cord surgeons in tri-state area in like the Northeast. He was on his way out the doors that day to go on vacation. He was like off duty going out. The call came in for me and he turned around and did my surgery. So I was in surgery, like from accident to surgery, in about an hour, which is just unbelievable how quickly it all happened. And all of the, I guess, places, the pieces that God had in place for everything to happen that quickly. And looking back on it, like I can just tell, like it was it was just in his plan for everything to happen that day the way that it did, to get me through, to give me the best chance at living, being where I am today. So I definitely believe that God has done incredible things in my life. I absolutely think that He saved me that day that I had my accident, and not just physically, like saved my life, but the road that I was on, the path that I was living, was not incredibly healthy. I was not in a great place at all. I probably would be dead in a ditch somewhere if I hadn't had that accident. To be completely frank, I think that what was going on in my life was just not conducive for a great future. And so I think that God put me back on the right path. He sort of caught me, uh, called me back to Him, and I think He got me through all of it as well. I mean, just my faith, my foundation, coming back to God through that. I mean, obviously, I prayed constantly throughout those first few years, especially about being healed and like what God wanted from me, what His purpose was. And I had a vision, I would say, pretty early on after my accident. I was praying and I saw this this vision that I think God sent me speaking in front of people on a stage, and I saw it as a sort of sign from God that that is where my life was headed, and I thought, okay, all right, God, like I will absolutely do this. I am more than happy to share about you. I'm more than happy to speak about you and what you've done in my life, but I'll never do it as a quadriplegic. I argued with God for years about that because it was just constantly in my mind. And I said, yeah, I'll go and say what you want me to say, but never as a quadriplegic, never in a wheelchair. And I like to say God won that argument, and I think it has worked out for the better. I mean, praying for so many years to be healed. Yeah, I think it would have been incredible. I mean, God does miracles all the time and He absolutely miraculously heals people. But if He had healed me when I wanted, if He had given me what I wanted, then it would have closed the door on this opportunity. And I think that I can do so much more good as a quadriplegic now than I ever could have if He had just healed me. I think it is for the best, and I'm happy that things have worked out the way that they have. I obviously don't like the fact that I'm still paralyzed. I think I would trade just about anything to not be paralyzed, but I am going to do whatever I can with what I have been given, and give back and sort of see where all this leads me. And so far, it's been an incredible journey, and I've been so grateful, so blessed through all of it.
Yeah, it's been incredible to see you. Honestly, I remember like seeing the first interview, like you being presented on that stage and you explaining your experiences there. That was really beautiful. I was like, damn, this is great because a lot of the times when people look at a technology like this, they are afraid because of its potential implications, as they've seen too many movies by artists that would like to make you afraid of the future. So seeing this actually gives hope for the future that it's actually going to be as cool as people thought it was going to be initially before they became afraid of it, right? Because like good
Mm,
art makes you hopeful for the future, right? And even in the case of you know, like one day they will also like be able to restore, the connection to the rest of the bodies. So you'd possibly even be able to walk one day. You never know. It might be many, many years out, maybe like 10 years out, maybe 20, maybe less than that. I mean, it depends on how fast they're able to iterate. But like that's one of their projects, as well as also restoring sight, which is, dare I say it, quite biblical in a sense almost, if you think about it.
mm,
The body blind sight I thought was really
yeah.
interesting. Like you're able to restore sight to a person. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild what they are planning on doing, what they've been able to do so far. A chip in the brain, multiple chips in the brain, connecting the to the motor cortex on left and right brain, and then another chip below the level of injury in the spinal
Mm.
cord, and they speak to each other, and you're able to regain movement. I think that's totally possible. I think it'll happen in my lifetime, given I survive much longer. But I think, yeah, 10 years, 20 years is not too optimistic. I think I tell people that all the time. I think it's and not just helping people who already have this disability, but my vision is of someone getting a spinal cord injury and going into a hospital, getting this surgery, and walking out, the next day or within days. And I think that would be it'd be incredible because there are so many positives to this, and one of them is even just, right after your injury, they tell you that your goal is to essentially try and create new pathways, like neural pathways, pathways in your spinal cord to regain movement. So continue
Interesting.
trying to like wiggle your fingers, move your hands, move your feet, continue trying to like imagine yourself walking and doing all of these things like
Is this because they're
physically.
trying to map the patterns which are consistent with what you imagine to be movement? Because like you fire signals,
Mm,
obviously, so you'd have to find which
yeah.
signals there are because the brain is like this really complex thing that we haven't fully understood yet by signal at least, and even structure.
Mm.
So are they mapping for the specific signals that are,
Are you talking
associated with
about
movement?
Neuralink? Because
Yes.
Neuralink isn't. Yeah, so they're not really doing this part. This is just what I
Interesting.
was saying. Like doctors and hospitals is what they tell you to do after a spinal cord
Oh,
injury.
okay,
Is just,
okay. I
yeah,
was
it's
just
just
wondering.
a, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that this is will be part of the progress of that technology of like getting a movement back again, because that's such a huge part of it, is like you're saying, being able to map sort of the neural pathways, the signals, like what controls what. One thing that we've found is that the brain is confusing. It's
Yeah.
plastic, it changes daily. Like neurons that control your thumb one day might control your middle finger the next. So, like, it's just sort of hit or miss on what we are able to sort of map and calibrate and what controls what. So calibration has gotten so much better, and I'm sure we'll figure it out. But doctors tell you to continue moving because the more that you move, it's like they even do these things called like FES bikes. It's like functional electrical stimulation, I think something like that, or like TENS machines where like they send electrical signals into your body with like little pads essentially, and it will like make your body move. So like one of them, an FES bike, you sit on a bike, they strap a bunch of pads to your legs, and then you will like when the electrical signal sends through your legs, it like makes your legs move essentially, and you'll like sit on almost like like an exercise bike, and it'll like pedal the bike for you. And that's all just to not only like keep your body from atrophying, but when you like see your body moving and you are like going along with it, like, okay, I'm trying to move my legs in the way that they are moving, then that there's something that like it's like you're tricking your brain into thinking, hey, this still works. Look, I'm still controlling this. And you're trying to create those new neural pathways. And so if you get a spinal cord injury, get the Neuralink implant, leave the hospital the next day with of the ability to move, then in my mind, it makes sense that your body would create those neural pathways even better, to the point where you might not even need the Neuralink after weeks, months, a year, or something, where you are controlling it like on your own. You've created those new neural pathways. So it's all just about tricking the brain sometimes, because the brain is incredible at what it's able to accomplish. The body is incredible at how much it can heal. So it's incredible. Oh, well, it's incredible again. And then the blind side and stuff too. I mean, that's just going to be so amazing to see, and I can't wait for them to start implanting people. I've seen the work that they've done in the monkeys, and it's sort of mind blowing how this technology works.
Oh yeah, I loved seeing that. That was really fun. I forgot what exactly the term is for this, but the wave that you see, the action potential, I thought that was really cool because that's
Mm,
the actual logo. The Neuralink logo is that wave, which is very consistent with how our brains actually look from a signal perspective. So I was like, that
yeah.
was really cool to see. It's beautiful actually because it's like there's so many of them. And even it's funny because what you said about the complexity of the brain, what's even more interesting about the brain is that every brain seems to be unique in its own way, almost like fingerprints. Like everybody has
Hmm.
fingerprints, but they all look different. They're all a bit unique, which makes it very
Hmm.
difficult for even psychology or even like classifying a certain type of brain. Like for instance, when you say, okay, you're autistic, it's like that's not actually a thing. That is a set of things where you like fall on a spectrum, and then even your specific thing could be so unique that you don't even entirely fall on the spectrum. You have like anywhere between 90 to 70% accuracy for classification on that spectrum. You may just like end up being more, you're like erring more into whatever is classified as ADHD because the brain is that complex. And even what you explained with, you'd never know which neurons process the thing that you're currently like, processing the thing that you're currently processing. It's almost like how a computer chip works, where you don't exactly know which of the billions and billions of transistors are actually being used to compute a vector. So like what my friend told me yesterday, I thought it was a fun coincidence to mention that.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting problem to solve with having so many different people with the chip now, trying to make it so that the chip, the software, the algorithms do basically what we want it to do in every different person. How the calibrations work and the different sort of commands that you're able to output. I mean, like you said, everyone's different. So, what does that look like as far as getting this in thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people maybe one day? How do they create a calibration loop that makes it so everyone can do it easily and it works the same for everyone essentially? Or is it something where there's just constantly going to be people who are just more capable of using it than others? I think they've done a really, really great job at creating this app and sort of what everything looks like, what the algorithm is doing on how to actually map these neural pathways. I mean, they've done left hand, right hand people. Well, the ALS people use different commands. I know one of the guys, I think P3 Brad, uses his tongue in order to control the cursor, which is pretty amazing to think about. But that's different. I use like the mental image that I used when I first started was my like right hand. Other people are left-handed. Some people can use their feet to do it, and these are all like starting places. So it's not what you need in order to use the device. Like you can just think and the cursor goes where you want it to do and does what you want it to do. But it's always nice to have sort of that fallback of, okay, I think I'm moving my right hand and the cursor moves here and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. We've run into a lot of issues though, but they are very creative with how they have come up with solutions.
So, what was it like getting the procedure? Like, how did you get into it? Without revealing too much, of course. I don't want to like.
Um, yeah, it was pretty easy. So like early Sunday morning, we showed up at the hospital in Phoenix Barrow Neurological Institute where they did the surgery. They had basically cleared out the schedule for the day, for the morning at least. I got there at like 5 a.m. or something, and was completely ready. Did the whole pre-op stuff. For a few days before, I was like showering with surgical soap and everything to make sure that I was all clean, and then shaved my head. My head was already like shaved at that point. I was already sort of shaving my head. So that made things a lot easier. And then getting into surgery, like just doing all of the standard stuff, talk to an anesthesiologist and going over all of the consent forms and, what surgery is actually going to look like, yada,
Yeah.
yada, all of that. And then going into surgery, they said it was going to be a few hours, maybe like 3 to 6 hours. I think that my surgery was supposed to last. It lasted under two. They built a surgical robot to do the surgery. So a surgeon went in and did a craniectomy, a craniotomy. Either one, I think, works. They couldn't even figure out which one they were going to call it. Basically, both are drilling a hole in the skull So a surgeon went in and used a special tool to create a little hole in my skull, not too big, but big enough for the robot to get in, implant all the threads, and then the chip is mounted to my skull as well. So surgeon cut me open, cut a hole. They mapped, when we had done a functional MRI and different MRI scans before the actual surgery, they had already mapped out where all of the threads were going to go in my brain. They picked 64 spots where it was like away from anything that would cause damage, and exactly where they wanted to go in the motor cortex on the left side of my brain. So they had already mapped it out. They had already done all of the legwork, the groundwork there. And then once they cut open my skull, they really just needed to map up, or I guess sync up like the picture essentially. What does my brain actually look like, and how does that correlate to what the scan showed, what the pictures we had were? And once they got all that lined up, they said that my brain looked beautiful, which is always a weird compliment to get, but that it is what it is. Brain looked good. It looked exactly like what the scans had shown. So they just sort of input it into the robot, like, okay, line everything up, and then basically just pushed enter, pushed play, push start, whatever you wanna go with. And the robot took 64 threads, implanted them very precisely into my brain. There are like little needles that the robot uses to like pick up the thread and then implant. That is something that Neuralink has also created. They like fabricated their own needle, which is pretty cool. Like their whole fabrication team is just awesome. They were on like hundreds of iterations of these things, and they had brought backups for these needles because they were prone to like break during the surgery. Like a needle might break the robot on the robot or something, so they would need to like switch it out. So they had like a few different backups. Needle didn't break once, which was pretty amazing. So it went smoothly. That's why it went so quickly. After all 64 threads were implanted, then the surgeon took the chip and actually like there it's in like a little case, like a mounted case, and he drilled it to my skull, mounted it, and then put the little flap of skin back over and stapled me up, sewed me up, stapled, I think. And yeah, so it was all super quick, very, very painless. I was not out super long. Even the anesthesia, they use like different mixes nowadays. So came out of anesthesia pretty solid. Played a little prank on my mom, which was awesome. Which I always love telling that story. I planned this out with one of my buddies before surgery, but we were joking about like how funny it would be to play a prank on my mom, like after I came out of anesthesia. So my buddy was like, "There's no way you're gonna do it," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be drugged up. I probably won't remember." But I came out staring around at everyone around me. My mom was like, "Hi, honey. Like, how are you doing? How do you feel?" And I looked at her and I said, "Who are you?" And she was not happy about that.
That's funny.
She was just like, tears started flowing. She looked around at the doctors like, "What did you do? Like fix my son?" And then I just had this, grin on my face. I'm like, I'm just joking, mom. Like, I'm fine. And yeah, but it was super painless. Didn't even take a Tylenol. Like they sent me home a day later. I was like, "You guys sure? Like I just had brain surgery. You don't want to keep me longer?" They're like, "No, you're fine. Here's a prescription for pain meds." Didn't take any, couldn't feel it, didn't have any issues, no infections, nothing like that. I was good to go. So it was, yeah, super simple.
It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, the robot is actually something that people don't talk about enough. It's like
Yeah,
that makes it more precise and kind of removes the almost the skill cap of it, because normally you'd have
yeah.
to go in and do brain surgery levels of like you'd have like a high level of difficulty, and so the robot basically removes that restriction. So that's really cool to see that it actually worked, because I thought it was manually implanted, not via robot, but the fact it was put in by the robot is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, their whole plan is, their idea behind it is that you don't need a specialized brain surgeon to come and do the surgery. You just need someone who can cut the hole, essentially, mount the chip, and then the robot will do the rest. So it's meant to be, so basically any surgeon in the world can do it. That's why they even started opening up different like study sites, different places to show how viable this is. It doesn't need to be one specific surgeon that is going around doing all of these surgeries. It can be any surgeon. And So it makes things much more feasible, much more viable, for just to make it at scale and to do the surgeries at scale and all of that. So it is a really really cool solution that they've come up with. I mean, they had to build a whole dang robot, so that must have been fun. And the robot's pretty cool to play around with too. It's interesting the sort of foundation that they built here with the chip, the robot, wanting to open up like clinics and stuff so people can go in and get the surgery. They're trying to get the surgery down to like under 10 minutes,
Wow.
which I think is totally possible with the team that they have. I don't see why it wouldn't be. And also to make it where you get the surgery and you leave the same day. So it'll be like a little drive through. I doubt it'll be that much, but something along those lines.
How did it feel afterwards, like physically after you got that, after it was done? How did it feel?
Well, I couldn't feel it in my head at all. I couldn't feel that there was anything there. I would like report things like,
Interesting.
"Hey, I hear like a whooshing sound in my ears," and like, "Oh, that's just your body healing. It's like some blood flowing. Nothing to worry about. That's common." Stuff like that. Just like normal brain surgery stuff. But outside of that, couldn't feel it. No pain. Like it was super simple.
And how do you charge it? How do you charge it?
Yeah, so they have a little charging coil that sits over the implant. They built two other pieces. They built a little charging base, so essentially a battery that they have created with a lot of little fun features on it, and a coil that just sits over the implant. So for me, I wear it in a hat, so I get like a regular hat. They heat treat like a little pocket inside the hat. I put the coil in there, connected to the charger, and I just let it sit. I'm wearing it right now, so like I can wear it, I can charge it, and use it at the same time. It's pretty easy,
It's like one
honestly.
of those MagSafe batteries for your iPhone, but like for your head.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
It's like
That's
wireless
basically
charger,
what it is. Yeah,
induction coil.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. The induction charging is a game changer here, and it used to be at the beginning where I wasn't able to use the implant and charge at the same time. So I would use it for 5, 6 hours, whatever. Then when I started charging, I wouldn't be able to use it, and then I could use it again once it was done. Yeah, because they have like a lot of restrictions on like the implant for safety. So one of
Mhm.
them is like the temperature control. So there's a very strict temperature range that the device can function within. So if I get too hot, then the device will just shut off because the brain is very sensitive to heat. So if the implant gets too hot, it'll just shut off. So they don't do any sort of like permanent damage or anything. So at the beginning, I couldn't use the implant and charge at the same time because charging obviously creates more heat and using the implant heat as well. So you couldn't do it at the same time. But they changed that, and so now I use it and charge all the time. I'm probably on this thing way more than I should be, but I just use it constantly.
Interesting. So how long did the charge last actually?
Yeah, so my charge lasts about 5 hours.
Right.
So 5 hours charging takes maybe 45 minutes ish, and then yeah, we're good to go.
Interesting. That's cool. That's actually really neat.
Yeah, and it'll only get better, I think. They're still changing things. They're still changing, what is actually needed on the implant, in the implant, like physically. Chip architecture is really, really fascinating. I didn't realize how fascinating it was till I went and visited their site in Fremont, and I like had the chip manufacturer guys, the chip architecture guys, like walk me through what they did and how they built it and stuff, and like conservation of energy and how to make it better and everything. And I'm like, this is fascinating, I love this. So it's really really cool, and it'll only get better. The energy waste will get better, so how long the implant can function without needing a charge is only going to get better and better, I think. Which, given time, it'll be probably anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10x what it can do now.
Man, that's actually really awesome.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that is often asked is like whether or not somebody actually feels it inside of their brain. You can't really feel things inside of the brain because it's like very
Right.
little receptors there. Actually, the only thing that you would feel, like even with a headache, is you feel what's on the inside of the skull. There's like this piece of tissue that's there, and then you have this liquid that's between the actual brain and the skull. So like you feel pain in that center right there. But since you're not feeling anything there, so you wouldn't be feeling that. But you don't actually feel the threads, because there are more like threads than anything else. They're not needles; they're like threads in your actual brain, because the brain doesn't really feel anything. Because that
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
asked often, like, do you have an itch or something like that? You know, but no, no.
No. And the threads are, like a fraction of the size of a human hair. So
Oh yeah, they're beautiful. I've seen those.
imperceptibly small. And so like I can't feel a thing. I tell people if I lost my memory today and woke up tomorrow and you told me I had a chip in my brain, I wouldn't believe you because it feels like there's nothing there.
That's pretty cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I think we can. I'm gonna let a few people up, and then we'll also go through a bit of a
Sure.
QA
Yep.
thing as
Sure.
well. I'll go
Sweet.
through some of the questions in the Discord server that I have. So let me scroll up here because there's lots that happens in the chat here. It's very active. Blaze, you want to ask anything in the meantime? I'm gonna pick out a few good
Yeah, sure.
questions.
I got a couple here. Have
Excellent.
you had any follow-up surgeries ever since the implant, or was it like a one and done thing?
Yep. One and done.
Oh,
No
wow.
follow-up surgeries. Yeah. The only reason, I guess, two reasons why I would probably need a follow-up surgery. Well, maybe there's a few. I'll just kind of go through them. If there are any issues with the implant, say I got infection, say there was something wrong with my brain or my head or something, obviously I would go in and get another surgery. When I am out of the study, so after another less than 4 years now, because the study is 6 years, then they will do one of two things. They will either turn the device off, just sort of like shut it down and leave it in my skull, leave it in my brain, or they will do an explant surgery. So then they'll go in and actually physically take it out. Haven't decided what I want to do yet. I will almost certainly leave it up to them because I want to give them the best sort of data that they can get from the study. So if they want to do an explant surgery, I'm more than happy to do it. If they want to leave it in and do a longevity thing, then I'm more than happy to do that too. And then the other reason would be to do like another surgery for another implant. When that happens, they would just go in and implant another one, maybe on the other side or something like that. And so, yeah, but no follow up surgeries.
Perfect. And how long did it take until you could actually use a computer properly and just like do day-to-day activities after you got the implant? How long was that period?
For me, it was probably about 10 days to 2 weeks, only because of the like restrictions of the study at the very beginning. For other people, like newer participants in the study, they are using the device like same day. Within days, they're able to like use it for day to day stuff. For me, it was different because they had set a lot of like restrictions. The FDA had like we weren't allowed to charge for the first like 10 days. So, and that's just again to make sure that like the temperature control and safety and stuff is all good before we actually started. So I would only use the device for like 45 minutes a day. They were keeping track of it every day, like how much percentage of the implant we used every day. So that was all I was doing, all I was able to use it for at the beginning. And then also we had to like fix a lot of stuff. Like we had to learn the calibration stuff. We had to learn all sorts of different how to actually use the device, and they were still working on the software and all the algorithm and stuff. Basically, they had like only worked with monkeys up until me, so they didn't know what actually worked and what didn't. Having it in a person for the first time gave them a lot of really, really important feedback. And so we basically built the calibration from the ground up multiple times. And until I was able to like use it on my own for like daily tasks, was probably 10 days to 2 weeks. But I mean, a week in, when they finally let me like use it to like measure performance. So I wasn't using it just on my own yet, but to measure performance. First day I used it, I broke the BCI world record for how good it is, I guess is the easy way to put it, on a game called WebGrid, which I think everyone
Right.
can play now. It's out there.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen
So I
that.
mean, like, yeah, and I broke it broke that record every day again, like twice a day for 2 weeks or something. So it was
Nice.
just constantly getting better.
Are you still the record
And
holder on that one, or is there someone else who broke
no,
it?
I'm not
Oh,
actually. One of the other participants beat my record, which is just
Damn.
oh
incredible.
shit!
Yeah, which I'm
Competition's on
super
now.
happy about. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think they got over 10, so they broke the 10 barrier, which is something I was so close to. I think I got to like 9.6 or something on WebGrid, and they broke 10. I'm still working on it. I'll get there eventually, I think. But yeah, so it's pretty impressive. The device is super cool. It's super easy to use, super intuitive. I think people are going to be surprised at how quickly it's able to learn your intention and what you're able to do with it right off the bat.
Yeah.
When you're like using this thing that takes you like up to a certain amount of time, like what is this just mental exhaustion or like
Oh
was it
no,
difficulty adjustment in the game?
no. Honestly, like there's not much mental strain at all. I mean, the first few days that I was using the device, I was using it 10 plus hours, and I think the
Nice.
only exhaustion just came from doing so many calibrations like over and over and over again.
Hmm.
But like Neuralink, the team was constantly asking me, "Do you want to take a break? Like, are you good?" And I'm like, "Nope, let's keep going. Let's keep doing it." And the learning curve at the beginning is really just like understanding what you are doing. For me at the beginning, it was like, okay, the implant is in my motor cortex on the left side of my brain, correlating to my right hand. Because when we did a functional MRI, that's what lit up the most on the scan. And so, like, I was learning which motions to do, which actions to do with my right hand in order to get the cursor to move. So like move my hand to the left when I wanted to go left, move my hand to the right when I wanted to go right, and so on. Like index finger push down for a left click, pinky finger maybe push down for a right click. So like different fingers to do different keystrokes and things like that. So it was a lot of that at the beginning for calibration, like what's going to work best, what sort of actions going to give the best results. Also, they had to build the calibration better. Like they didn't know what sort of information to keep and what information to leave out when we were building the models, like the machine learning, like what is relevant and what isn't. There are also like 1,024 channels in my brain, so which channels are producing the best signals from neuron spikes. So there was a lot of that at the beginning, and so the device wasn't as good, like my control wasn't as good. Still broke the BCI record, but now when people get the surgery and they use it, it's way better at the beginning. They're able to use it like right off the bat. So, and then as soon as you can like figure out, like, I don't need to physically move my hand or something in order to get the cursor to move. I can just think I want the cursor to go left or right. I can just look at the screen and like imagine the cursor moving there and it moves there. Once that happens, it's like a flip switches in your brain. You're like, oh, like it's like riding a bike for the first time. It's hard at the beginning. You don't really understand the physics of it, but as soon as you get up, it just something clicks, and it's like, oh, I know how to ride a bike now. Like I get what I'm supposed to do, and then you never forget. Like it's there. It comes naturally. That's basically this. As soon as you realize, oh, I can just think I want the cursor to move, then it changes everything. Like you don't need to physically do anything anymore.
I've seen while you had conversations with people that during the period where you had them, the cursor kind of like moves around. Have you ever like fidgeted around with your hands at all? Like you've done something with your hands while having a conversation before?
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
but
I
like, do you think that's what's happening here? That you're basically fidgeting around with like the cursor, like the same way that you would have done with your hands?
yeah, I do it all the time. I'm doing it right now. Like as
It's really funny.
as we're talking, like I'm going through and like replying to some people in the chat. I'm kind of moving the cursor around like on the screen. A lot of times when I'm doing interviews and like it's a video call or something, I will like outline a person with my cursor because it's just like it's like a little fidget spinner. Honestly, it's like
It's amazing.
it's constantly moving, and so I'm always doing stuff with it.
Over time, are you like moving more with it? Like, as you're kind of trying to hone, I think, like your skill in using it. So you're possibly moving it around even more than you did in the beginning now.
Yeah, I mean it's just gotten better. So I use it more. I understand its little quirks, each little calibration quirks, each little model's quirks. So I'm definitely using it something like an order of magnitude more than I was at the beginning.
I wonder what it would be like for a person like me, because I play a lot of like video games where it requires mouse control, like really, really good mouse control. I wonder what it would be
Yeah.
like if I had that kind of aim. That'd be really weird because I
Yeah.
think faster than I can move, clearly, right?
Yeah.
So that would be insane levels of latency reduction. You'd be doing like some crazy, crazy like quick scopes and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. The aimbot is real. I think that it is going to change the gaming sphere. There are, I don't know, it's going to be so interesting as this gets better because it will keep getting better. And like when you can use your hands and like use the Neuralink at the same time. So you're using like mouse, keyboard, and then using the device to maybe aim or maybe like do different key commands. So maybe it can do like your QWER or something like that for a game or something, whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't have to like push those keys with like your fingers anymore. You can do
Mm.
like multiple keys at the same time. Like it'll really free up some space, and also like you said, the latency. This device is it really does learn your intention at a pace and at a degree that I did not fully comprehend at the beginning. It was amazing how quickly it could understand me, and then also how it can like predict. And I think that just comes from like, when a signal fires in your brain, say you want to move your hand, then the signal has to go all the way down and come back up before you're actually moving. So there's a piece of your brain that is active before you even want to like move your hand. When I want to click down with my right index finger, before I even decide I want to do it, the signal is already firing because there's something there. Like there's something
Mm.
very deep in our brain that is happening below our like consciousness level. So like when you're playing games and stuff and you are thinking a few moves ahead, when you're thinking, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, what comes next, reacting to stuff, then like these things can already be happening in your brain and on like keystrokes on commands for the cursor and everything. So it really is going to be a fun change to like the gaming field and what people are able to do with it.
As you're like explaining that the thing is becoming better, like what do you mean? You're like training the calibration? Is it like
Yeah,
what exactly is that? What does it look like? How does it work? Like what is it? Like you've
yeah,
mentioned neural net and such. So
yeah. So the calibration is lots of AI machine learning in the background and stuff. Basically you follow along. There are a couple different ways. There's like
I
the
assume this
open
is
loop.
done by XAI.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure if it is actually. I don't know if it's something
Interesting.
that X is sorry, that Neuralink has done in-house on their own. But basically there's like open loop calibration, closed loop calibration. Open loop is there will be a cursor on the screen and it will like move to different parts on the screen to like different bubbles or something. So it'll maybe there's like a ring of bubbles and it'll move to the one on the right, and so it'll move to the one on the right, and then a little animation of like the bubble filling up with like a certain color, say blue. So the bubble will fill up in blue, and that means that when it's filling up, you are supposed to be left clicking. Blue is left click. So as you move to the right, you follow the cursor with like you're thinking, okay, I'm moving the cursor that way. You are pretending, so to speak, that you are the one doing all of these things on the screen. And so you'll follow the cursor around and keep doing that, keep clicking, stuff like that. And then it'll enter closed loop calibration. So while you are doing all of these things in open loop, it is collecting data. It's building a model essentially. It's like, okay, when the cursor is moving to the right and you are following along with the cursor, then these neurons are firing. So we know that means cursor right movement. When this blue bubble is filling up and you are trying to left click, these neurons are firing. So we know, okay, that's going to correlate to left click now. And you do that for left click, right click, middle click, cursor movements, all directions. And then closed loop happens. And that basically means the loop is closed. So now you are the one controlling the cursor. So like the feedback loop closed. Now everything that you are seeing, you are doing. So now you move the cursor, you do the clicks, you do all of that. And while you're doing that, you are like moving around the screen, clicking different bubbles and stuff. And over time, there's just a model being trained in the background. The machine learning, the AI, the algorithm in the back is constantly reading your neural signals, reading your neurons firing, and understanding, okay, at any point in time, like if you are at X spot on the screen and you need to get to Y, this is the direction you should be going. So you are at the left side of the screen, you want to go to the right. So you should be going in a direct line straight across to the right, which means that when you are moving the cursor going from X to Y, this is what you want to do. So you want to move to the right. And that means that those neurons that are firing, those are the ones that correlate to moving to the right. And over time, it just keeps building and building and building and getting better. It keeps learning your intention, and the model updates, and then like the next model will be even better. And then you keep going through calibration. So you'll probably get, depending on how long you stay in calibration, maybe you'll get 5 different models. And the first one's going to be, the worst one. The last one should be the best one because it just has more data. You're just feeding it data. That's all you're doing. At any point in time, what are you trying to do? And then the model says, okay, you should be trying to do this. So these neurons are firing when you should be trying to do that. So that means that those neurons correlate to left click, right click, any sort of directional movement and stuff.
So the monitoring of the channels in your brain, how many channels are actually being monitored? And have you like tried more complex actions such as mouse movement and potential like keyboard key presses? And like if you have done that, were multiple channels being monitored, or is it just like maybe one or two? Like
So it's all of the channels at
interesting.
all times. The way that they have built the software is to pick up which signals produce the best strength. So, like for me, when I am building models, they might shut down certain signals, certain channels. I had like a issue at the beginning of my study, beginning of my surgery, where, or I guess not the surgery, but post surgery, where the threads were moving around in my brain. They call it like thread retraction. Some of the threads like pulled out of my brain. They just didn't stabilize correctly. And so, like right now, I have 15% of the threads plus or minus 10 are still in like their correct spot in
Interesting.
my brain. So I'm using anywhere from 5 to 25% of the threads in the right place in my brain. So like all of the other threads that aren't in the right place, those channels are almost obsolete. So like they just might exclude those altogether when I'm doing calibration. So for me, calibration, maybe it's like channels 100 to 150, like those ones are good. And channels 730 to 790, like those channels are good. So they'll like pick and choose or something. But for the most part, it's like all the channels are monitored, and then whichever ones produce the best signals, those are the ones we're going to use during calibration. Any other ones that are producing sort of erroneous signals or signals that you just don't need, signals that aren't doing what you want it to do, then they'll just be excluded. And so all of them are monitored, but you might not use all of them for any given action.
So what does how many threads is 15% of the threads that still work? Because like 15% still work, right? If I interpret that correctly.
Yeah. So like it's not necessarily like, so let's see, there are 64 threads, but it might not be like, okay, that means 9 threads are in place. It's more like all 64 threads are still in my brain, but 15% of the channels are where they should be. So like 64 threads times 16 electrodes on each thread is 1024 or something.
Ah, so like one thread can have multiple channels, basically. Can like
Yeah,
facilitate
one
multiple
thread.
channels.
Yeah, one thread has 16 channels on it. So 64
Oh,
times 16, 1024. So 15% of that, 183, something like that.
oh wow.
15%. So like that's roughly what it could be. Of those channels are still like in a good usable place.
And so like was this expected to happen that some of the that some of the threads would not work but like that like due to movement because I think this is also due to like neuroplasticity or is it just your brain actually just moving around and like this resulting in the removing of the threads?
Yeah, so neural plasticity, that's not it. It was mainly just like
The
after
physical movement,
surgery.
right?
Yeah, so after surgery, they changed some things after my surgery. They said
Mm.
that me like sitting up and moving around basically right after surgery didn't help. And also, I think they decided to keep the next participants on oxygen, like pure oxygen or like higher percentage oxygen longer. Something about like the carbon dioxide in the air has some like effect on the brain, like chemistry a bit and like healing of the brain and everything, and especially post surgery. So they changed just a couple of the criteria, not criteria, a couple of the like standard operating procedure after surgery, and that mitigated the like thread retraction in the participants after me. So for me, it was just I moved around too much, I breathed too much regular air, and that was that.
So because there was not enough
Yeah.
oxygen, the regeneration wasn't as, or healing wasn't as quick to basically keep the individual threads in place, and then thread attraction is where the threads basically come together and then create obsolete channels. Yes.
Something along those lines. I think there's
Okay.
something to do with the like carbon dioxide. There's like a weird like brain chemistry interaction with carbon dioxide that keeps it from. I don't know if it's like the threads actually locking in place, because what they want to happen is scar tissue to form around the threads, and they don't see like real good scar tissue forming around the threads until at least a few months in after the surgery. But that's what they want to happen, is for them to like anchor in place with scar tissue. But immediately after surgery, just not moving around as much and stuff, it just keeps the threads uh, in place a little longer, at least for the brain to heal just a 24 hours longer before you start moving around. The threads are a bit more locked in place.
Interesting. That's so using scar tissue as an advantage as opposed to a disadvantage that would normally be. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and the channels can still like read neuron spikes through the scar tissue. It might inhibit it, but like you know, at such a low rate, like fractional rate, such a low percentage that it's sort of negligible. Um, and so yeah, it helps things rather than hinders it.
Given that thread attraction seems like an interesting term that's like, that's been manufactured here, was this expected that something like this would happen?
No, no. So
Interesting. So
they
this is
didn't
like a
see
new
it.
discovery, basically.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't see it at
Hmm.
all in the monkeys. When they were doing surgeries, they didn't see thread retraction happen. So like with me, I was sort of the first case of it happening, and I mean that's why I joined the study. I wanted to be in the study to help people, whether with disabilities or for them to learn about the device and for them to fix any problems moving after me. And the thread retraction was one of those problems. I'm glad that it happened in me. It kind of sucks because it like hindered my performance a bit, and it has kept me from maybe doing some things that I maybe want to do or should be able to do, or maybe would like to do with Neuralink, just because my performance isn't as good as some of the other participants. So like maybe they are just better suited to other things than I am, because they just have better control of the device in some cases. But that's why I'm here, because I wanted it to be so they learned something and that they fixed it. And so yeah, I'm glad it happened to me. It was hard at the beginning because I thought I would never be able to use the device again, because I lost like complete control of the device after about a month. After about a month, like I couldn't use it anymore
Damn.
for maybe like a week or two, until they like fixed it, because they ended up just tweaking some stuff on the software side for me, and it fixed the issue, and I got better control than I did before, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, it all worked out. All's well that ends well.
Is it accurate to say that the more channels, sorry, the more threads are, usable in this way, the greater the resolution and therefore the capability? Is that a
Um,
great way to kind of look at it? Or
no, it's not. It's not one to one,
okay,
but I will say that there on some level it is true. More threads, more channels does not necessarily equal better performance, but it does equal like a wider range of channels to pull from, which may give you like better results. So really, what you're looking for are the right neurons for the right action. So, like, if there are, say, 1,000 neurons in your brain that control your right index finger, then you want to hit as many of those as possible when you're doing anything with your right index finger. So, like, if I want to use my right index finger for my left click, then you want to hit as many of those channels on the threads, many of those neurons as possible to get the best resolution. So more channels is definitely better to do that, but it's also about like where the threads are placed, how much sort of ground they're covering, like because it's really interesting that the the brain, the motor cortex in general, is sort of like a mishmash of like where in your body, where in your brain, like body parts are controlled. If you've ever seen a map of the motor cortex, it is not like, okay, at the front of the motor cortex, maybe it starts at your head, and at the back of the motor cortex, that is your feet. It's like, no, maybe your like arms and your like foot are in the same place, and maybe like your head and your toes are in the same place. Like it's something weird where it's like everything is sort of connected. And we've also seen that for me, even though the threads are implanted in the motor cortex at the place specifically correlating to my right hand, if I calibrate and want to use my feet in order to like do cursor controls and stuff, then there are still neurons firing that do that. So like I could control the cursor with my feet if I wanted to. It's just there aren't as many neurons, and so your control is not going to be as good. Like my control won't be as good as if I did my right hand. But there's a lot of crossover. I've found that even though I'm doing stuff with my right hand, if I start using my left hand instead to do the exact same things, just mirrored. So instead of my right index finger, I use my left index finger for left clicks. Even though I didn't calibrate at all with my left hand, when I go to do a left click, if I use my left index finger, then it can output a click because there's just so much crossover there. So the brain's weird at the end of the day. We don't know exactly why all of these things happen the way that they do, but the more ground you can cover, just the more area that you have to choose from. Also, like you want to be at the exact place in the brain where all of these things happen. Like there's a very precise level of the brain, a very precise like depth of the brain where all of these neurons for the motor cortex exist. That's why like on the threads there are 16 channels like going up and down the thread, so that when the thread is implanted, you have the best chance of like hitting that specific depth, hitting those neurons and stuff. So yeah, it's lots of interesting problems to solve there.
Isabel wanted to ask something. Sorry if I kept you waiting a little bit there.
No, you're totally good. Hi guys, it's so nice to speak with you here. I just wanted to ask, I study the brain a lot, and I know you were saying that, you have obviously all of these threads in different parts of the brain. I was wondering, you might not remember, exactly where all of them are, but do they kind of give you a map, or are there some general areas where they like to put them that you're aware of?
The threads themselves, like where they are,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, so it depends on the participant. So before surgery, we all have a functional MRI. So functional MRI, for those of you who don't know, basically an MRI scan, but while you're in the scanner, they ask you to move different parts of your body, and they can see the MRI light up like real time. So while I was in the MRI, they were like, okay, raise your right arm, raise your left arm, kick your feet, wiggle your fingers, do all of these different actions. And whatever part of the scan lit up most, whatever responded the best, wherever they got the best signals from, that's where they implanted for me. So mine is a left brain motor cortex, specifically for like right hand control. For other participants, it's left hand. For other participants, it's maybe like their feet. Whatever looks best on the scan, that's where they'll implant. So they have given me a map. They've given me sort of like a general outline, like, okay, this is where they're going, this is where it's at. I don't know it like specifically. I couldn't tell you like with any degree of accuracy outside of what I've said because I'm not an expert, but that's kind of broad strokes.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe you'll tell me one day, eventually, and I would love to hear it. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for doing this. And it's lovely to get to hear you on here. And you're a real inspiration. You're very brave and a great person all around. And so I think that, you're going to make an impact on a lot of people by being on here. So thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for your kind words. I just feel like I'm doing my part. I think anyone would have done the same thing in my position, so I don't feel like I did anything special. I just happened to be the one they chose, but I appreciate it.
We're all God's tools in the end, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna take a few questions from the subscribers in my Discord server now.
sure.
So I got one from Daniela here. She asks, what surprised you most about the technology itself? Like, how has it changed your perception of reality? Interesting one.
Yeah, I think that there were two things. First is when I first started using the device, I thought, like it works as it should. Like I didn't think there was really much special about what it was doing. Like all the signals in my brain still work. They just, there's a break in my spinal cord, so they can't get through. But you just put something in there to read those signals, and then like translate it onto a computer. I'm like, yeah, that works. Like it wasn't anything crazy to me. When I moved the cursor for the first time, just by like thinking I want the cursor to go here, it changed like I don't know, it changed everything for me. Like and that's when it truly became sci-fi. Like I'm like, why does this work? Like why does just thinking I want the cursor to go left? Why are those neurons firing now? Like what is happening in the brain? What is happening here? It still baffles me to this day, like why these things are the way they are, why the brain works that way, why even just like thinking of an action, thinking like, yeah, I want the cursor to go here and click here, why the like even after calibrating, not even with like those thoughts of mine, not like calibrating specifically for movement. I mean, I was thinking, yeah, I want the cursor to go here and click there, yeah, when I was calibrating, but now why does that work? It didn't really make sense to me. It still is something that we are trying to figure out because the brain is a mystery. But it was shocking and really did change how I think about the technology. And then the next is just how intuitive it is, how much it can actually understand my intention um, quicker than I'm even able to like intend to do something. So I've seen on multiple occasions where I might be moving the cursor in calibration, say, and I'm going from one bubble to the next, from left to right, and it might show like where the next bubble is going to pop up after I'm done with the one on the right. So I go left, going over to the one on the right. Okay, I'm over at the one on the right, and I see where the next bubble is going to be, and I know that like once I click that, I need to go over there, and so I get there, and the cursor will start moving to my next destination before I even intend to, almost like it's predicting what I'm going to do next. And that could be something just, again, deep in the brain, like at a subconscious level where things are happening before I even want them to happen, or I guess am intending them to happen. Things are happening at a very deep level that we just don't understand yet. So I know what I want to do next, but I haven't fully like had that thought yet. I haven't fully brought that thought to life. Like, okay, this is where I'm going next, but it's still there, and the device is able to read that to the point where it is able to start doing things before I even intend to do them. So if I want to output a left click, I might think, okay, now's time that I'm gonna output the left click. The device is already there and doing it. So it is incredibly intuitive. It understands intention so easily and so quickly, and that was really shocking to me. Very surprising, and that's where like a lot of e-gaming stuff always comes to mind. Like, gosh, how is this going to change the face of e-gaming? Games like Diablo or like League of Legends or something where it's totally based on speed and how quickly can you process and output what's happening. So yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, with like those kinds of games, you can work with macros and things like that to actually make the volume of inputs lesser, so you can output a ton of actions based on singular button press, for instance, right? You can do like you could just do macros with that. I think like FPS games would be more of an interesting thing to try out because of the nature of it, right? Because you're moving through like a
Yeah.
physical world, and that could unlock new different types of potential, especially around things like perception, perhaps even, right? Whereas I think like just for pure how well can you interact with the game, something that's like Diablo or even Path of Exile, any of those, like how well would that work if you like to use a macro, for instance? So it is possible, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens as this thing gets better.
I think one of the patients is like playing CS:GO, aren't they?
Yeah, so a lot of the participants use like quad sticks, so like another assistive device where they are using them together, which is super interesting. It's something that I haven't really tried out yet, but I really want to, so I can hop on and play some FPS games, play some more complicated games, because the device isn't like the chip isn't there yet. So I couldn't go and play like Call of Duty or something just with the Neuralink on its own. It's just not capable yet, but they're working at it and they're getting better. And I think that over time it absolutely will be. So yeah, but right now it's like I know a lot of multiple assistive devices to do one job, which is still super, super cool, super fun.
So do they aim with the Neuralink and then do other actions with the
Yeah,
quad
I think
stick?
that's the main what some of them were doing for it mainly. I know that the Neuralink can still output other buttons too. So it might be like aim and maybe like fire or
Mm.
crouch or like throw a grenade or whatever it is. Like I know that they can output at least 3 different commands plus cursor control. So it could be like aiming and then like 3 different commands and then the quad stick does the rest. So yeah, it just makes things easier.
I've seen some people use a quad stick to play games. It's actually quite impressive how good people can get at it too. Like I'm
Yeah,
seeing people play things like Call of Duty even with this thing, and I'm
yeah,
like, damn, bro, imagine you get like quick scope by this dude from like across the map, dude. It's over for you, man. Like I'm not gonna lie,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
over, bro. You're cooked.
yeah. I've tried. I am not that good with it. I tried playing Call of Duty. There was a Call of Duty that came out 10 years ago or something, whatever it was. Less than maybe that like 8 years ago. And I tried playing it with the quad stick. And you start out the game on campaign on the beaches of Normandy, and I never made it off the beach. So I was a very quick casualty of war. So I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just not. I'm not good enough with it. But I've played other games. I've played other games with the quad stick. I was deep into like Stardew Valley with it for a long time. I
Mm.
freaking love that game.
If you're gonna try an FPS, one of the ones I would recommend would be like Halo, because it
I love
is
yeah. It's
yeah,
my
it's simpler.
Halo's like my favorite game of all time. I
Same.
was a big gamer when I was younger, and that's what I grew up on. I prefer Halo any day over Call of Duty. That is my jam. I
Which
am
Halos did you
one of
play?
those all of them. So
Oh,
I started out when I was a kid. Started out with number one. Played through all of them as they came out.
mhm.
Halo Reach. So
Oh, Reach
good.
was great.
Oh man, so much fun. But yeah, I played all of them. They're my favorite games of all time. Those and Zelda. Those 2 games I think go back and forth for me.
I have the entire collection. I was thinking about actually playing through each and every single one of the games myself, because like the way that I got into Halo is actually not via the games, via the lore. Like I really deeply
Ooh.
appreciated lore. It was like a really fascinating thing, like a different take on how life on planets was created. I was like, this is a really decent story. So I actually got into the lore first, and then later I decided, well, I have a laptop with a 3070 in it. I may as well just like play one of the games that looks the most modern. And I decided to play Halo Infinite, which I've played like over 2,000 hours on, and it's like hands down, I love the mechanics of Halo. I know that like there are other versions of Halo that people say are better than Halo Infinite, and even the feel of it is a little bit different as well. I will say that, but I still love it because the soul is kind of still there, even though the storyline some people think it's not as good, which I do agree with in part. I think it's still really damn good. So like if you're gonna test anything, maybe even the like by the time it comes out, the remake, they're gonna put out a remake of Halo CE. You sort of assume, right?
Yeah, I am so down. That's like as soon as I can play FPS games, as soon as I can play anything like that, Halo's where I'm going first. I would put in so many hours into Halo, and then just start playing through games that I've missed, games that like have come out after my accident that I've really wanted to try, and just games from my past. Wanted to play through like the Borderlands again, and all of the Fallouts, and all sorts of other games. Like I'm a big gaming guy. I'm all about it. Grew up with it. All of my friends are. So that was one of the first things I did with the Neuralink when they gave me full controls. I spent all night playing Civ 6. So it was a lot of fun.
Because like you weren't able to play a lot of games before that, right? So you
Yeah.
looking at this was like, hey man, let's try something in this way.
Yeah, I mean, I was really only to play stuff with the quad stick, and even that was like, again, simpler games. And then with a mouth stick, which is literally just a stick that I hold in my mouth, a little piece of like conductive fabric on the end, and then with like an iPad, like a touchscreen, and I would play Civ on that as well, on like the iPad version. And then I play chess. I play a ton of chess. So that's that was really all I did. But being able to play games again, I've been enjoying it. I actually just got back into freaking Slay the Spire 2, so I've been putting
Nice.
tons of hours into that, and so yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
We should play chess sometime. It would be really
Yeah,
funny.
man, I'm down.
You'd probably beat my ass because I don't play it enough. I used to play it a lot as a kid because I was bored.
If I can beat
so-
Adrian, you can definitely beat Adrian.
Yes. Well, she beat me because I was monkeying around. No pun intended. Actually, no pun very much so intended. I will say that. No, I was like monkeying around. I was trying to get as many like queens as possible, and so like I didn't pay attention.
No,
and she like
I'm
sniped
just
me.
kidding. It was a fluke. It was a fluke game.
Oh no, you beat me fair and square. I will say that. I was monkeying around. I
No,
deserve that.
I beat you fair and square, but it
deserve
wasn't
that.
like your best playing, and you beat
Yeah.
like me in like 98%. So
Yeah. I mean, that's also really not fair because I had played it a bunch, but yeah, no, that was a good win. That was a GG on your part. Not gonna lie.
thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to more questions here. So I got one from Devnol, who's Knights of the Order member. He asks, "Were you afraid before the procedure? How do you feel about it now?"
No, actually, this is something that I thought would happen at some point. I was at more peace with God, with what was going on in my life at that time, than I ever have been. I was just so confident in not only the technology, not only like the decisions that I made, but what God had in store for me. And if that was like, I was fully prepared that if like something awful would have happened, I would have died, come out with a traumatic brain injury, something like that at surgery, that I was just okay with it. I was at peace with it, because I knew that it would still be used to help people moving forward. Like that was my whole goal through this whole thing, was just to help others. And so I was so at peace with it. But I did think, like, as surgery got closer, that I would start freaking out. I was like, okay, well, it's brain surgery. I am a quadriplegic. Really, all I have left is my brain. Like, this is something that I thank God for every day, that He left me with my ability to think and with my personality and everything. So, letting someone root around in there is pretty daunting. I thought I would just start like freaking out as surgery got closer, but night before surgery, I was still lying awake with my buddy, just sort of smoking and joking, and just having a great time, just like any other day. Like it was like any other night, two of us got together. So surgery was happening, and I was just not afraid. I was not nervous. I did get nervous right before they put me under anesthesia, only because I wanted to like pray before we went into surgery. I wanted to pray over the room, and it's something that I just am not comfortable with, praying in front of people, or I wasn't at that time. It was just not something that I was used to, not something that I was comfortable with. So like I started getting really nervous, but I asked to pray right before they put the mask on me, and did that. But that was it. That's all my mind was on. I just wanted everything to go well. I wanted my mom to be okay. I prayed that she was okay with whatever was happening, and she would be freaking out there. So I was like, God, just be with her. And outside of that, no, I wasn't afraid. And I'm super happy with the decision I made. I'm really glad that I decided to go through with it, because there was a time when I thought that I might not, but it all worked out in the end.
Nice. Another question from Delphi, also Knights of the Order. Having had this experience firsthand, how do you envision the future of Neuralink's progression impact on humanity? Like, is it basically like what would be the impact?
Yeah, I
Do
mean,
you think?
I think first and foremost, people with disabilities, it's going to change the disability field. It's going to change the medical field. For the longest time, I thought that any advances in sort of disabilities or conditions or anything would come from like pharmaceuticals, would come from like just science, like them understanding, the body more, the brain more, whatever it is. Now I fully believe that it's going to come from the tech field, even if it's just like discoveries or anything. It's all going to come from the tech field, I think. And so I think Neuralink is going to have a huge impact on that. I mean, they already have. The like BCI race is real now because of Neuralink. I think that they will continue pushing this thing forward, like we've talked about with paralysis, like allowing people to walk again, blind sight, helping the blind see again, helping deaf people hear again. There are so many different things that it can help, can cure in a lot of ways. And there are so many other places in the brain that we haven't even started to explore that it could absolutely be a game changer for. And then outside of disabilities, just being able to sort of connect with AI, connect with different devices on a higher level, being able to connect with other people at a level which we've never really understood, being able to maybe transmit thoughts and feelings, sensations from chip to chip and have that like actually physically occur in someone else's brain, being able to like communicate with people across like language barriers, real time like language translation, or like just sending thoughts to people like over Bluetooth, whatever it is. Like these sorts of things are real possibilities, and I think that it will absolutely change how humans interact and how humans adapt and progress. I think that it is our way to sort of fight back against sort of this AI revolution in some senses. Not that AI is going to take over the world or anything. I'm not really afraid of that at all. I'm not afraid of Skynet in the least. But I do think that it will give us a way to harness that more, give us a way to output our production orders of magnitude and help us to find new ways to progress as a race, civilization. I think it's going to really, really change what it means to be human on some levels. I still think that we get our identity and our humanity from God. I don't think that's ever going to change, but I do think it'll change the progression of our civilization. Which I mean, I'm here for it.
Indeed, indeed. Knights of the Order member Trilinka asks, once you've adapted to gaming with it, are there any aspects of having the implant that make your gaming superior to how you used to play, perhaps in terms of speed or maneuverability? And what, if any, aspects are more challenging now? Do you have to concentrate more to scan for enemies? Question mark.
No, I think it's going to be only upsides, really. The only downsides I could think, well, maybe if any, would be sort of accidentally doing stuff in your mind that you don't mean to do. So maybe like with a mouse or a keyboard, if you push the wrong button, that happens. If you click the wrong thing, that happens for sure. But you can mitigate that as much as possible. With the brain, it's sort of funky because your thoughts can literally become outputs on their own. So it's something that you'll have to definitely be aware of. But at the same time, I don't think it will add any sort of mental stress. I think it's going to make things easier. I think precision, accuracy, speed, all of these things are just going to be improved. Plus, like the number of commands, outputs you're able to do at once is going to, I don't want to say skyrocket, but it'll definitely be at least a multiplier of what it was before. I mean, you can do only what as much as your two hands can do at one time. And so adding the brain into that is who knows how many more inputs, because like this is not just left click, right click, middle click. It could be 10 extra inputs, it could be 20, it could be 100 extra inputs. Who knows what the brain is able to actually accomplish, like how you're able to compartmentalize these things, like how many different actions your brain can actually handle at one time. We don't really know what the upper limit of that is yet. So it'll be really, really interesting to play around with.
Indeed, indeed. Trilinka asks again, now that you've experienced it, are there things about it that would make you want one if you hadn't had your accident? Like what aspects?
Yeah, I think that there are so many different use cases for this that I didn't even know going into this, but like seeing all of the other participants and what they're doing with it, it really does add a lot of, I guess, add so many layers to what I think people will be able to envision themselves using the device for. For me, like if I were to see the other participants playing games like they have been, or using it to build things, like they're one of the guys using it to help design things to 3D print, or
It's pretty cool.
yeah, one of the participants, Audrey, is using it to like paint. She's like selling art with it. There are so many different things that these people are finding ways to use the device for. For me, it would just come down to, okay, like, can I actually find work now? Could I actually like be a productive member of society again? Because that was always my biggest holdup, was I felt like I was just a resource drain. Like I wasn't really
Mm.
producing. I wasn't really accomplishing anything. I wasn't giving anything back. I was just taking. And seeing that firsthand has been, you know, a game changer. It absolutely made me feel like I can be useful. Like I don't have to be a burden. That I'm able to actually help other people. So seeing all of that would really convince me to get one. I mean, there are so many different ways for this technology to be used that it's only a matter of time before people start using it in ways that none of us that even have it right now could have ever imagined. So yeah, it's everyone's going to have their own sort of viewpoint on this, like getting the device, like, ooh, what can I use it for? I always knew that as the first. I was like, they're the people that come after me are gonna use it in ways that I never even thought of, and they have. So like it, the more people that get it, the more differences and the more usability. I mean, it's just going to keep growing. People are always going to find new things to do with it, and it's going to be amazing every time. Well, most of the time.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment of like, being useful. It's something that's kind of decreasing over time because, people are very confused about the future and they are somewhat pessimistic about it. So to be productive and to try and be useful is actually what will make the future better. On that same note, what do you do for work now?
I speak. That's basically it. So
Orator, right?
yeah. So I go around. And I do like keynote speeches. I travel, and
Mhm.
people hire me to come and talk about Neuralink, talk about my experiences, talk about all sorts of different things. So I have used it to build a business. I've used it to like basically do everything that comes with building a business, and like writing speeches and doing all of my scheduling, doing all of my like communication, everything in regards to that, using it for like social media and stuff, which is also, I guess, part of my business too, even though I'm terrible at it. It's like my like worst thing worst thing I do with all of this is just building my brand, which is such a weird thing to even say, but like it just, I'm bad at it. But all sorts of things like that. And then I'm using it to like help write a book. So I'm writing a book right now, and so I'm using it to
Mhm.
write and using it to like brainstorm, research, do all these sorts of things. So yeah, and then I mean there are so many other things that I would like to do with it. So we'll see. We'll see what else I can manage to scrape together.
It's actually pretty cool. I do something quite similar as well. This is why I have the conversation and why, I have like my sessions on Discord as well for the subscribers because they, end up carrying me. That's the thing. So like it's actually funny that this is something that we somewhat have in common. In my case, it's just like very much so like an Asmongold type situation, like kind of how he functions, except that
Oh.
you get like a version of that sounds like Elon and has the manufacturer's autism, who also simultaneously works in manufacturing also. So I do that outside of this,
Yeah.
and it's like really funny to have that kind of perspective on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. Emily, advanced member, Emily asks, if there's an update to the link, does yours get updated? How does that occur? Do you believe this technology could help others with neurodegenerative diseases?
Yeah, so everything can be updated over Bluetooth, except for the hardware, obviously. Hardware you'd
Mhm.
have actually have to go in and like replace and stuff. But they have built what they call the Link app. So this is how I control my computer. I can't connect to just any computer via Bluetooth and control it. It's an actual application that helps the device like translate everything that it is it is collecting to a computer. So the Link app they've built, it's how I connect, it's how I do everything, and then they will just ship like updates over the Link app. So they will do like firmware updates, and I think I did one today actually before this where I just went on and there was an update. So I updated the device, and so now the software is updated on it. That's all super simple. Takes like 2 minutes. So I absolutely believe that the device will be used to help people with neurodegenerative diseases. I think that it may occur in a couple different ways. On one hand, it could physically like go in and sort of help send signals into the brain, almost like the seizure devices that they have now for people with like Parkinson's or people with like grand mal seizures and things like that, where it will go in and like send signals to the brain in order to like prevent seizures or to like just give information to people when they are about to have a seizure or something. So there are a lot of different use cases for that, where there are different things that happen in the brain which could be prevented or could be solved potentially with the Neuralink writing onto the brain, sending some sort of signal. And then also just the information that we gather is going to change so many ways that we approach the brain and approach treatment. The more that we're able to map the brain, the more that we're able to learn, the more that we are able to understand will help us create solutions for people with different issues. So I do think it's going to help so many different people.
Indeed, amazing. Knights of the Order member Elder Dragon asks, I wonder if he could if he could do TA and trade stocks in real time, could make exploring charts more interesting or faster trade execution.
Yeah, I've done some trading with the Neuralink. I mean, the same as using a computer. So anything that someone can do on a computer, I can basically do. So I've done a bit here and there. I'm not good at it. It's not something that I ever like was incredibly interested in learning, but it's something that I absolutely have thought about. I've bought a couple books. I've listened to some guys, some of their like talks and stuff like that. So something that I'm like, I've thought of. It's just I have so many other things going on that I haven't put a ton of time into it, but absolutely possible.
Indeed, indeed. Ravenna asks, if your Neuralink could let you have a full two-way conversation with your own future self from 10 years ahead, what's the first question you'd ask them, and what do you hope their answer would be?
I think the first question, honestly, I'd ask is if they'd figured out the dual implant, being able to like walk again, sort of thing. That would be my first question, because obviously I'd hope they'd say yes. Like, hey, did they ever figure this out? Did they solve this problem? Because that would be awesome if one day in my lifetime that happens, to be able to move my body again, to use my hands again, and to walk again. Like, that is first and foremost on like my mind when I think of like what I want the device to be able to do in the future. Yeah, so that's where my mind goes instantly. Maybe next is just like I don't even know how to put it. Like, what has the device been able to write onto the brain, and how has that felt, if that makes sense? Almost like, can we send signals? Like, I know Joe Rogan at one point had mentioned something along the lines of I don't even know, someone sent me a clip or something of him talking about being able to flip a switch on your phone, and it gives you basically like a high from a drug, because it can trigger certain parts of the brain, like release certain chemicals, or make you feel certain things, or make you I don't know, get into certain states. And I wonder if that has happened in the future, because that would be kind of wild. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Indeed. Advanced member Macrodot asks, what can Elon do to mainstream Neuralink and have it become normalized in our society?
I mean, I think he's doing it. I think he's absolutely on the path. I think their decision to use this device to help people with disabilities first is going to help a lot of people come to terms with it. First off, I think it was the right thing to do from just a human standpoint. I think that them creating something that can help people, it is the right thing to do. To create this to help others and to use it for that, and to devote so many resources to that, is such an honorable thing to do. It's such an amazing thing to do. And I am so grateful to him for doing that. But I think that like all of that is only going to show people that this device is not only viable, but that they have the right intentions in mind. Everything else just follows. Like, people get to see what we are doing with the device, how we are being productive, how we are using it, and they get to think, wow, maybe I could use it for something like that, but even better because I have control of my body still, but I can still use it to game, or I can still use it to be productive. Like I can use it to build a business, or I can use it to do work, and I'll have both my hands plus like a Neuralink, which can help me, 10x my output, productivity, and stuff. So I mean, like there are so many different things that people will use it for, and I think that seeing all of us that have it now use it for all the different things that we are will hopefully encourage people to get it. And then just all of the, I guess, advertisements that are being put out there as far as just like going out and talking about it, people talking about it, me talking about it, Elon talking about it, all of you guys talking about it, being interested in it, like these sorts of things are going to normalize it. I think people understanding what the device does and what it doesn't do, what it's capable of and what it isn't capable of is a huge part, because transparency is key here. We're not trying to hide anything. This device is just it is what it is. We're not trying to overpromise or oversell it. We are telling it as it is and saying, look, it'd be cool if it does this in the future. It doesn't do it right now, but that's what we're working towards. And I think that that will give people a lot of not only encouragement, but like ease their minds on what it is doing and what it isn't. It's not, Rick rolling me 24/7. It's not just, playing music in my mind on loop. It is doing something much cooler. Well, cooler's, I guess, relative, but
It's like more read than write. Like a lot of people tend to
yeah,
confuse that writing onto the brain with this technology has not been really achieved yet as much. So it's like,
yep,
and what you described earlier, like referring to what Joe Rogan was saying about pushing a button on your phone to, create some sort of emotional response. The thing is, this requires like even, this is a very high complexity thing that I don't think this will be achieved in quite some time. Like right now, it seems to be more like reading, and then potentially at
yep,
some points where you get into writing is the facilitation of signal transfer between 2 points,
uh,
right? So it's like this is the thing that's interesting. But I mean, as
yep.
for mainstreaming it, I think you're doing a tremendous good job, as would be saying. So yeah, excellent stuff. It's very nice, very inspirational. I think Alex has his hand up.
Yeah, glad to be here. I'm thinking a little bit about your daily life, basically, right? We have all seen the demos and all of that, but like, what would be, I don't know, some small, super ordinary thing that this gave you back that people wouldn't think about?
I think really my ability to communicate with others, before Neuralink, I was using Siri to text. No, go away, Siri. I don't want you right now. Um, yeah,
I love it
of
when this
course,
happens.
of course, yeah. Um, but like I would have to use her in order to like send a text, like, hey, send this text message, and 99 out of 100 times it is not what I wanted to send. It's like, no, you didn't get that right at all. Or I was having to like use macOS dictation, or I was having to use my mouth stick to like communicate with people. And when you're trying to send text messages to someone or to multiple people, it's not very achievable at any sort of scale. Like being able to text my friends and my family again, like more consistently. Like it's just made me a better friend, a better son, a better brother. Like being able to reconnect with the world. It really has felt like I have been given the ability to just be there for people again, and that's been really really nice. So something as small as that, being able to just communicate with others more consistently and better, it's been an absolute gift. Something that I just wasn't able to really do before. I would avoid texting at all costs because it was just such a headache. Take me like 5-10 minutes to send a text message. And when you're trying to do that, but maybe dozens of times, it's not possible. So yeah, something small, but absolutely changed my life.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up question on that. Independently from Neuralink, do you utilize AI a lot? I could imagine like with voice mode, agentic things, maybe to get things done for you.
I do a bit here and there. I dabble. It's not something I am addicted to by any means. I think I use it for more like productivity things. I might use it to help me say with some of my business stuff, like help me craft speeches or help me do a bit of research or help me do some like things, some tedious things. But I don't use it a ton. It's not something that I am super, I guess, fluent in. I think that I probably know more than maybe your layman, but at the same time, I am not an expert. It's not something that I've really fully mastered, but something that I definitely have been wanting to dive into more because I know that there are so many ways for AI and for agents and things like that to just make my life so much easier. So there are a lot of use cases for it. I have discovered a few, but I know there's so much more out there that I could use it for.
Also, I don't know if you've answered this, but I think in the first month after you had the implant, apparently there was some issue and they had to fix it with a software fix. Do you think you'd ever like, because as far as I understand, the issue is still a hardware issue. They just kind of found a workaround using software, a clever software trick. Do you think you'd ever go back and like get something implanted in with the hardware issue fixed? Or do you think the software issue is software fix is sufficient enough?
So yeah, I mean the software fix is definitely good enough. I would still love to go and get the issue fixed physically. Really, it's just that the threads retracted. So we talked about it a bit earlier. Like 85% of the threads, the channels just aren't in their correct place. So like I would love to go in and get that fixed because it could open up some more opportunity for me as far as just what maybe I'm able to do. Maybe the device gets a bit better. Maybe my control gets a bit better. Outside of that, like there's not really a whole lot of need to. It really is almost like a personal desire of mine. I would say I'd love to go get it fixed, but you know, a whole nother brain surgery and on like Neuralink side, on the surgeon side, on the study side, it's just not really worth it. Completely understand their point of view. I mean, it works just fine now. I'm still able to do everything that I was before and more with it. So it's totally capable still. But yeah, it'd be nice to go in and fix the threads and get a new one. Maybe get a couple implanted. That'd be cool.
Do they still keep up with you to like make sure that everything's still going good, so
Oh
that like
yeah.
if there's any major issues, you can let them know?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I still collect data for them, like daily, weekly. So like, they're still like monitoring everything to make sure that everything's still going well, that like it's still functioning properly and stuff. They can see all of that from the data I collect, and then yeah, we talk constantly. I'm still in communication with them, so they're always up to date on everything that's going on, and I always let them know if there's ever any issues or anything I want fixed, anything that you know I might like to have, something like that, some like new use case or some just little desire of mine. I will let them know, and they do what they can to accommodate. So yeah, we still chat.
And so this was all done for you. What is there like something you have to pay, or is it completely free as long as you provide them with
Mm,
data? Is there like
yeah.
some sort of relationship that's financial or test wise or things like that?
Mm. Yeah, so no financial relationship at all. There's no compensation there. I'm in a FDA study, so it's a, feasibility, viability, safety study. So viability and safety mainly. So like the study I'm in is 6 years, so I still have certain requirements that I have to uphold to stay in the study. I have to go get like checkups at the hospital every 3 months. So that's one thing. And then I also have to like connect to the device like once every like 5 or 6 days, which has never been an issue with me because I'm on it daily. And then they just ask that I like collect data for them and stuff just so they have it for like the study. And as long as I like don't break any laws or anything like that, like I should be good. Outside of that, I don't think there are really any requirements. Yeah. That's it. And I don't get anything in return because it's a voluntary study. So like any sort of compensation is seen as incentivizing me to stay in the study. So if they were to like pay me, if they were to give me any sort of benefits, anything like that, they were to promise me anything, then that's seen as an incentive to stay in the study. And that's not allowed from the FDA here in the US. So it's just a no-go. So they can't do anything like that for me. They can't pay me or anything, which is totally fine with me. I think they are giving me plenty with just allowing me to use the device.
I meant more like in the opposite way, with you like paying for, I don't know, software
Oh,
updates or things like that.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I don't have to do anything like that.
Okay.
Didn't cost me anything. I volunteered and they accepted me, and so like I get all of the cool new toys and stuff like that that they add to it and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't have to pay anything, and anyone that joins the study wouldn't have to either. It still is a study, so I don't know if there are any studies that like require you to pay for anything, but sometimes
Right.
like you might have to pay for like travel or something like that, but the study generally like covers travel to and from like study related events and everything. But yeah, I don't have to pay for anything like that. None of the updates, none of the hardware, nothing. Even like the computer belongs to Neuralink, so that's something that they provided as well, and all of that, yeah.
Are you in contact with any of the other people in the study, or is that like considered like
No, we are. We're all in a Slack channel together.
okay?
That one of the guys created, and we've just been adding people as they get the implant. If we can get their
Mhm.
contact information in some way, like we usually find some way to reach out to them and add them to the channel, and so we all kind of chit chat.
Does the FDA not consider that to kind of be some, interference? Because if some person reports like a side effect and then another person also feels the side effect, it could possibly be like contaminated because of like what's the term where it's like one person thinks that they have something, so they
Yeah,
actually feel the
mhm.
effects.
Yeah,
Placebo effect.
yeah.
Placebo, yes.
I don't think it's an issue. I think it has to do with the nature of the study, like what they are actually like researching. So the study is it's not really concerned with any sort of like, let's say, psychological side effects or psychological sort of differences or anything like that. It's really like a safety and viability study. So is the device safe? Is it harming us in any way? And I can see why you would say something like, if we're experiencing some sort of negative side effect, then the others might say the same, but it's more like a physically. So like, is it creating any sort of like physical detriment in our bodies? And then viability, does it actually work? Does the device do what they say it's going to do? And things of that nature. I don't see any sort of conflict there. I understand your point, and that is something that the FDA, that Neuralink and Barrel have already run by the FDA. The FDA has approved it all. They're totally fine with it. The one thing that isn't allowed is like Neuralink and Barrow, the study site and the study sponsor. They are not allowed to like give out any information on us or like connect us in any way. They can't like talk to us about each other or like say, hey, this is this person's contact information. That's a no go. But outside of like us doing stuff on our own, like outside of all of this, outside of the study, it's totally fine.
Right, like you can still socialize and everything. That's not going to be an issue.
Yep. Yeah,
Nice.
perfectly
That's pretty
okay.
cool. You guys ever play any games together?
Yeah, I think some of them have they play some games together. I haven't played anything with them yet, but
Mhm.
just because I know a few of them got like quad sticks and they were gonna like hop on games together and stuff. I
Nice.
know that like a few of us played Mario Kart once for like a Neuralink thing. We like hopped on a call together and we all played Mario Kart together, so that was kind of cool. But outside of that, I don't think well, at least I haven't done anything with them.
I got a question here from an advanced member in general chat. What's the closest to a quote superhuman ability you gained with Neuralink?
I mean, does being able to control a computer with my thoughts not count as a superhuman ability? Um, that I think that's about it. That really like it hasn't enhanced me in any way outside of just being able to use my thoughts to control a computer. But that in itself is pretty superhuman.
Nice, nice. Thanks for the question, my team. Arib asks, have you noticed any big differences in the way that you think and process and or any side effects that you have with sleep or movement?
Not particularly. I would say like one thing that I've noticed is maybe I like fidget a bit more with my hand than I did before because I would like use it to move the cursor a lot. So like sometimes I'll find myself just like trying to move my hand or my fingers or different things like that. Like I would be moving the cursor. I definitely am constantly sort of like moving the cursor and stuff. So again, fidgeting. As far as like differences in like thinking, I mean, it's definitely changed the way I think about like the brain, my perception of the brain and what it's capable of doing and what we are capable of doing like with the device and different things like that. Nothing too philosophical, I would say, as far as like consciousness or humanity or anything like that. Sleep is an interesting one because the device still works while you're sleeping, which is something I didn't expect, and that was kind of funky. But like, you know, you still move in your sleep, you still do these things. It's in my motor cortex, so there's still movement and stuff going on there. And so like I've fallen asleep once or twice with the device on accident, and it will like I'll wake up to like clicking around on stuff, which is always dangerous because I don't want to like send something that I don't mean to send. That's always my biggest fear. Call someone that I don't mean to call like while I'm sleeping. But yeah, not really changed my perception, my way of thinking much at all.
That'd be a crazy form of sleepwalking, not gonna lie. Like
Yeah,
you just start doing things on your computer as you're like asleep with
yeah.
the cursor. That's crazy.
Especially if you're like connected to something, you connected to like a wheelchair with the Neuralink device,
Oh
you're
God,
connected
yeah.
to any sort of like robot or something that you can actually physically control and you fall asleep with it and it's still moving. That
It's
is
like you tell your
pretty
Optimus,
wild.
hey, it's 2 a.m. I want a salmon steak fried in X amount of ways, and then it just does that, and you wake up next morning and go, what is that
Uh,
smell? And why is there
yeah.
a piece of salmon next to my bed? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. I mean, it
That
really
would be pretty
can
funny.
make your dreams become reality, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good,
Just
pretty
hope
good.
you're not having any dreams about murdering anyone. That would be a
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Pretty zesty.
yeah. Hey, Optimus, I'm not a huge fan of my mom. She tells me that I can't play video games all day. Man, hopefully don't wake up to a bloodbath. That would be dangerous.
Damn. On your book, though, can't wait until that's complete. It'd be nice. I'll probably give it a read. Would be interesting if one day if one could perhaps even turn this into a movie of some sort, because this would like in 10 years or so, you will see like all of the interesting results of the technology and the tests they're running and the data that you're providing. You'll see all these results, and it will be quite interesting to see how it all started. Yeah, but this is one of the things that I hope for AI, at least on the media front, is that it makes the tools that create really good movies, not just like I think there's like a misconception with AI where people say it's just going to make the whole movie. I don't really think that that's entirely accurate. I think what it will do is make the tools easier to use and more efficient to
Yeah.
use. Like for instance, there's like I'm not sure how much you follow with VFX, but there's like those guys are called Corridor Crew, and they make a lot of their own films and things like that purely for YouTube, and they are doing a really good job. And they recently did this thing where chroma keying is how you take the green screen out and all this kind of stuff, but it's like chroma keying has this problem where like if you have semi-transparent objects, you have like the green hue that's still there, and then it messes things up visually. It's really annoying. And so these guys used AI in order to basically do the chroma keying automatically and better. So like a human who was sitting there with like thousands of hours of experience could not match the quality, the chroma key quality that this software could put out. And it's open source as well, by the way, which is really fucking awesome, right? I think it's quarter key is what they call it. But it's like it's really cool. That's what I think like AI is going to be, able to like it's going to facilitate people who aren't like a full scale Hollywood studio to make their own movie. Like if you have a good taste, you really know what you're doing. You like specialize in a few of those tools just a little bit. That'll be enough to actually give you a good result. So who knows? Maybe I would even be able to make such a movie. That's something that I hope for AI to be able to do as well. Just because humans that like a lot of people they keep thinking about the Terminator scenario, where like because
Yeah.
for years and years we had like okay new AI technology comes out like Wired and all these newspapers use like the fucking picture of the Terminator with the red eyes. It's like that's not the future, man. It doesn't have to be the future. Besides, it's way too expensive also.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. It is a money problem more than anything else. And yeah, I mean, if that becomes a real capability, and I think it will, I agree that AI is just going to, like, it's a tool essentially, and it'll create the tools. It'll help us like manage these tools and perform tasks better. It just means we're going to have a lot of terrible movies coming out because everyone will be able to make one. So
Absolutely.
everyone will think they're a Spielberg, and it'll be awful.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of already happening as it is. Like sometimes you come across like real gems, even with indie movies. Like you have indie films, right? And these are sometimes really good. And it's unfortunate that they don't get any funding to then continue on what they were going to do. Like they sometimes have really nice, because that's how you flex your muscles basically. So you go, okay, I'm a good director, or I'm a good this, a good that, and you like that's how you get into the film industry on the indie level at least. And so I think that it's going to make it easier. And so if you actually have good taste, you're going to come up with something really, really damn good. Right. I mean, there's always going to be slop. I mean, a lot of the movies that have come out, in recent years, they're very unremarkable. It's only a few good ones that have come out. Even this year, it's a few good ones that have come out. But like prior to that, it's been largely very empty and very like antithetical to the idea of what art is. It's not art. It's just some sort of signaling that nobody wants, really. It's like what movies have
Yeah.
become.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's a lost art.
Have you watched Project Hail Mary, by the way?
I haven't. I want to read the book first. I'm going to though.
Nice. Andy Weir, yeah. He's really good. I think he also did The Martian as well, that book.
Yeah. Oh, so good. The Martian.
The movie's
one of my
nice. I love the
favorite
movie.
books, and the movie's great.
Yeah. It's like if anybody asked me, I was like, what's my favorite sci-fi movie of all time? It's possibly going to be The Martian, because I really enjoyed this. The thing about sci-fi movies is that, you can go remarkably abstract, and that's cool too, but I like the subtle things, looking into the future and making the future actually look cool and beautiful even, which is what I think The Martian did spectacularly. I mean, hey, you two could be on Mars, and that's what I really liked about it. It's the entire atmosphere, how it was all done. And it was also quite accurate. There were a few scientific inaccuracies, but by and large it was a really good, realistic movie, which is, very rare for sci-fi. And, that was a really decent movie. I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
Andy Weir does good work.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
What other movies do you like? Do you have any other favorites?
Oh,
Those things.
man.
You ever watched The Matrix? I mean, everybody's got to watch it at some point.
Yeah. Matrix are good. Man, it's been years since I've watched the Matrix movies. What are some of my favorite movies? I don't have go-tos. I'm pretty standard, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars movies, the original trilogy, so good. Harry Potters are obviously really good. Love the Harry Potter books and the movies, those are good. The Martian was definitely very, very good. There are a few that are really good. Men Who Stare at Goats, that one's pretty good. Let's see. Some of my go-tos when I was in high school were always the really stupid movies, but I love them so much, like Hot Rod and Benchwarmers and things like that, which are just super good comedy movies. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like just a lot of everything in movies. I'm a big movie buff, but I don't know that I like have a ton of go-tos. I just enjoy them. Man of Steel is really good.
Oh yeah.
Geez, I don't know. Yeah, there are a lot out there. I'm sure I could just go down lists of like favorite comedy movies and favorite action movies and stuff like that, but they're kind of everywhere, all over the place. I don't think I'm any sort of like major connoisseur where I have like the best taste in the world. I enjoy them. They're fun.
What about Interstellar? You ever watch that one?
Which one?
Interstellar.
Yeah, Interstellar was good. Yeah.
I kind of like the movie itself was kind of weird in terms of like the physics and all was kind of unrealistic. The thing that stuck out to me the most was that finally there was a nice cinematic representation of a singularity. I thought that was really cool. And actually it was so accurate, in fact, that the people that made it, Double Negative, I believe is the company called it, it was what the company was called. They created the thing that's called the Double Negative gravity rendering engine. And they actually released a paper on this because they like did it. They fed in all of the math and then rendered some pieces, looked at it, were like, that don't look very whole-like. That looks a little odd. And they took it to the scientists, and you're like, is that what it's supposed to look like? And he's like, oh yeah, it is actually what it's supposed to look like. And there was a French person who actually rendered a black hole way back when, like I think it was in the 70s even, and this looked very much so like the singularity, the gargantua in that movie. So it was cool to see a cinematic representation of it, because prior to that, all the journalists, they were like using these like weird flat looking things with the ball in the center. I'm like, bro, that's not how gravity works, man. Like that, the gravity is so intense, you'd be able to see behind the object, which is why you see the accretion disk go above and below it, when in fact it doesn't. It's just that you can see behind the object, which is a really trippy thing. I mean, the same thing happens with the moon, right? You can like see stars that are behind it once it's, yeah. So it's because it too has a lot of gravity. It's actually a pretty damn big object. Underrated. Real cool. I think that covers everything.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Gone on a few hours, gone on some tangents here and there.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Neat.
I always love talking about this. I know we could probably go on for hours and hours more about all sorts of other random things, philosophical things, and all sorts of other things regarding Neuralink and stuff. But there's always stuff to talk about here in this field and just in life in general. So I mean, this could go on forever, but I think we've covered basically most of what we set out to do, and it's been a lot of fun. I've had a great time.
Indeed. I usually do these spaces every single week, right? But also I do at the end of the year kind of like a year in review thing. So it'd be interesting to kind of like, touch on all of the things that have happened within the year once we get to the end of this year, right? It'd be interesting to see what else would happen in 2026, if there's been any advancements, things like that. Because usually I host that at the end of the year as well as the weekly ones that I host here, which is called The Conversation. And then, of course, sometimes we have remarkable, incidents where, for instance, we have a guy we interview like yourself, and that comes on. That's usually what the conversation is. Yeah. What it morphed into, rather. Used to be a daily show. I don't really do it as daily on More Spaces because it's quite glitchy and it has a lot of overhead. And because recorded format makes more sense as like when you host spaces. The thing is, during the live hosting of it, people keep getting disconnected. There's some sort of error in their code. I'm not sure what's going on there, but like they keep getting disconnected, and so there's like lots of technical difficulties. So they can listen back to the recording, and some people, they don't experience the same issues. Maybe they're on their phones, maybe their desktop. It's like it's very distributed and it's very strange. So this is like this is why I don't do it every day, because if you do it live, and non-recorded, which is how I used to do it, it would be a very annoying experience for people, because they would just be hearing part of it be very glitchy and it would annoy the fuck out of them, right? So it wouldn't be very nice. So
well, year in review, end of the year stuff sounds pretty cool. I'm sure we'll keep in touch too.
Indeed.
We got there are lots of little irons in the fire, lots of other random things that we can chat on, play some games together sometime. Yeah. I'll be around.
Yeah. I'll send you my I'll send you my chess.com, and then whenever you'd like, we could possibly do a bit of a thing. Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
Excellent, man. Thanks for coming. This was absolutely amazing. I hope that a lot of people enjoyed this. We're going to edit Blaise as our media guy here. He's going to be basically editing a few of these things down, refine it, and we're also going to put it on YouTube as well, as the recording will be available here in its full version due to the space being here. And right now is usually what I do. I host my sessions in the Discord server. So if anybody would like to join us there, go join the Noetic Order Discord server. So most of the questions I've taken were from the advanced members, because I value my subscribers a lot. So thank you all for subscribing also, and for the questions. So I'll see you all there. Thank you all for coming. See you next week.
See y'all.